Hi and welcome to another narration presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to tap the notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. Oh, and don't forget to share the video far and wide. This will all help with YouTube's algorithm and will help promote the channel more. And if you're going to leave a dislike, please be so kind as to comment why. That way I can review what you didn't like about the video and I can possibly make changes in future videos. Thank you. If you enjoy listening to the following story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line, or even give them a glowing review. I'm sure they would appreciate it. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. Camp Wanahee, Part 6. This fantastic story is written by Wanahee, a wonderful author over on Reddit's NoSleep subreddit. Alright, sorry about the cliffhanger. I'm back now though. Apparently the whole nail itching thing is just part of the summoning that's going on, which is super irritating. A couple of the campers and counsellors decided a good solution was to rip off their nails. We've hidden the pliers from everyone else. Seems like a good idea. Anyway, let's get back to where I left off. Are we going to keep going? Marcus asked. We have no other choice, I said as I began walking again. Our progress slowed greatly as we had to be much more careful about not making any noise. When we spoke, it was now barely above a whisper. The screams continued off and on. We tried to figure out the direction of the sound, but doing so was difficult. The reverberation of the scream in this cavern was disorientating and made it difficult to pin down where it was coming from. It wasn't long before we noticed a growth of some kind on one of the trees we passed. It was sickly pale white that glistened wetly from our flashlights. The tree around it had turned grey. Tendrils of white flesh spread from its centre, making it about a foot across. In the centre of it, there appeared to be an opening. There was a single thick protrusion that waved in the air as the whole thing pulsed. As we continued, we found there to be more and more of the growth. The further in we went, the larger the infestation on the trees became. They looked withered and had no leaves. The grey tube was as thick as a finger and a foot long on some of them. Is it some sort of parasite? Marcus asked. Looks like it, Maria said. Definitely avoid touching anything. Something's weird about it, I said. It looks fleshy, like skin. Yeah, you're right, Marcus said with disgust. It seemed familiar and I was trying to figure out why that was. Another muffled scream echoed throughout the cave, bringing a terrible revelation. It looks like the skin of the faceless. Shit, Marcus said. You're right. Did we finally find where she lives? Maria asked. Knowing our luck, probably, I said. Come on. We made our way much more carefully, having to avoid disturbing the growths and tentacles as we made our way deeper into the increasingly infested forest. We didn't get too far before Maria spoke up. Hey guys, you may want to check this out. We turned to see what she had noticed. The light illuminated a body a few yards away. I had no idea how old the body was, but it did not seem to be decomposing. It was face down and looked to be male. The parasitic growth had begun to take over the body, having covered the legs and part way up the torso. The feet had begun to resemble the faceless, though as drastic, but only making the toes appear slightly longer. I noticed a pile of what looked like clothing next to him. It's been bringing people back here, Maria said. Some clothing was crumpled in a pile nearby. I grabbed the pants and found a wallet in it, which I began looking through. I found a ticket to a Rolling Stones concert from 1975 and their driver's license. His name was Jeremy Bell and he was born in 1950. Looks like he came here sometime after 75, I said. Don't know when he died, but he doesn't look to be 70 years old. I'd say he was in his mid to late 20s. Somehow he was being preserved while the parasite takes over his body. The legs lurched towards me. I fell on my ass at the sudden movement, and the others both gasped in shock. The fleshy growth along the body shifted and amassed into a bulge where a mouth formed. A grey tube-like tongue emerged and licked at the air. It seemed to not be in full control of the body yet. It was only able to flail the legs. The sound of the limbs hitting the ground was sickening in the silence. I gathered my crutch and stood up. It might be possible we are dealing with more than one faceless, I said with a sigh. I turned to start walking again when the three of us were caught in a bright beam of light, followed by the distant sound of a shotgun being cocked. Can I help you? I asked in my best customer service voice while holding my one hand up. I want to reiterate, I don't end up at gunpoint very often. It's been twice today. Knew you were in way over your head, Carl, the new arrival said in a gravelly voice. Thought I'd come and pull your ass out of trouble. I recognised that voice immediately. Holy shit! Coot! Is that you? I turned my light to him. Sure enough, there he was. Grey hair, wiry muscles, shit-eating grin and all. The shotgun was new though. Coot? Marcus said with relief. Wait, who are you? Maria asked. I turned to see she was looking at everyone, becoming frightened. Where am I? Shit, I said. Marcus, you got it? Yeah, I heard him start talking softly to Maria. I made my way over to Coot. He looked the same as he had when I last saw him. Leathery tan face, a grey and white beard kept tight and trimmed, and a persistent, no bullshit look. What's wrong with her? He asked. We're too far from Wanahee, I said softly. She's been forgetting since this morning. We keep on getting her back, but it's happening faster. Damn, and in the middle of all this? Well, this shit show just keeps getting better and better. Coot slung his shotgun over his shoulder. Is he having the same problem? I shook my head. Marcus was here before as a camper and remembered Wanahee after he left. Remember the chuckler? How it killed one boy and you found the other? No shit, that's Marcus, he asked. You remember him? Coot nodded. And his friend Ricky. I remember the ones who got the real Wanahee experience. It's too bad you didn't retire sooner then. Had to wait on your slow ass to get here before I did. Coot punched my shoulder as the others approached. Maria was back to herself. You three ready to go into what's looking to be hell itself? We nodded, feeling a lot more confident than we probably should have, but we had Coot with us now. It also looked like he was packing. The shotgun was obvious, but I could smell ozone and some other faintly alchemical scents coming from his backpack as he began walking. We followed eagerly behind. We passed a few other partially infested corpses. Some were older, others younger. Most of them didn't react to our passing, but we tried to skirt around them as best we could. How did you find us? I asked as we took a break. Jupiter called me. Told me that hell was literally breaking loose. Talking about demons and there being too many doors. Came up and asked the dipshits you left at Wanahee where you had gone. They had me go talk to Myra and she sent me this way. Oh, I said, nodding my head, then realised something. Wait, Jupiter has your number? Yeah, we're good buds. We smoke all the time, Coot said nonchalantly. You give Jupiter your number, but not me? The guy you left in charge of all this shit? I asked, feeling rather angry over this. Yep, I was retired and didn't want anything else to do with Wanahee. You were my out, Carl, and I took it, Coot said without looking at me. I didn't want to come back. Truthfully, I didn't want to be here as long as I was to begin with. I also don't want the world to end, and if Jupiter was calling me about it, I knew it to be big. I didn't say anything back as we started walking again. He didn't seem to want to continue the conversation. This was unusual for Coot. He used to be so friendly, even if he was a hard ass. He never sounded this angry when talking about the camp, but it reminded me of something I had been wondering. "Why can't we forget this place, Coot?" I asked. "I don't know. I never figured it out," Coot replied tersely. "It's weird. Marcus saw his friend being eaten. You saw Vicky killed. I had her. But that's not it. So many kids and counsellors have been horrific, things like that at Wanahee, and never remember or come back. So why do we remember? I told you, I don't know," Coot growled. "There's something missing. Ricky died because Marcus had invited him along, then he ran away. I was the reason," I trailed off as I made a connection. "He and I were both responsible for what happened." Coot didn't respond. "Oh God," I stopped walking, realization flooding over me. "You lied about that night. You lied about what happened when you first encountered the Faceless, didn't you?" "I'm not fucking talking about this, Carl. Drop it," Coot said in a harsh tone as he continued to walk. "You were the reason Vicky got killed." Marcus and Maria came up next to me. "What are you talking about, Carl?" Maria asked. Coot had stopped walking, one of the fleshy trees hanging over him. His hands were balled into fists. "Marcus and I remember Wanahee because we were the causes of our trauma. We were directly responsible for what had happened," I said. "That's why we were missing, Marcus. Coot never told us the truth, so we couldn't figure it out." "Coot?" Marcus asked. "Is that true?" "I'm not going to talk about this." His voice was getting louder as he turned towards us. "I told you to fucking drop it." "What did you do, Coot?" I demanded. "Shut the fuck up, Carl. You think you have any right to demand anything of me?" Coot was shouting and making his way towards me. "Tell us what happened," I shouted back. I could hear the muffled screaming in the distance. "I tripped her," Coot shouted, a mad rage in his eyes. "I was way too high and lagging behind. I knew the Faceless was going to get me, so I tripped her. No one else saw, and if they did, they never said a goddamn thing about it. Some of them wanted to go back out for her, but most of us kept them back. I figured she was hungry, and once she fed, she would leave us all alone. And she did. Took Vicky's headless corpse and left." Coot stepped in close to me, his face inches away as he dropped his voice to a venomous whisper. "Is that what you wanted to fucking hear, huh?" Coot stabbed a finger into my sternum. "Fine. I was the reason Vicky died." Coot had been my mentor, someone I thought was a pretty decent guy. I looked up to him. I'd come back to Wanahee like he had, but I had hoped that our similarities ended there. All of this shattered in front of me. Now I was angry, even though I had no right to be. "You don't even care that you did it, do you?" I spat back. "You just went on living your life here, pretending to be a hero to..." Coot punched me across the jaw. My vision flashed white and I fell to the ground. Marcus moved to help, but Coot already had his shotgun trained on him and Maria. They didn't say anything. Coot put his foot on my chest as he met my eyes again. "Of course I cared, you dumb piece of shit. That's why I came back here. I came back as penance for what I did." He shook his head. "I'm not some goddamn saint. I don't give a rat's ass about this place, the campers, or the counsellors. I would much rather burn Camp Wanahee to the ground. Better yet, if I could find the owner, I would throw him in here and make him deal with this shit himself." I wanted to leave. I wanted to forget like all the others, but I couldn't. When I heard that the owner was going to reopen this hellhole, I tried to convince him not to do it. Then I tried to hunt him down to kill him. When I couldn't do either of those things, I told him to hire me on to protect those I could. Not because it was the right thing to do. I remember what I did to Vicky, and I couldn't live with myself, couldn't sleep. I just wanted my conscience to leave me the fuck alone. Now it's your turn. The universe gave you your sentence for what happened to Ruby. You need to own up to it. You need to pay for what is owed. Another scream tore through my mind. "Carl, please, don't leave me!" No one else could hear it. The scream of a memory, a girl. I tried to push it to the back of my mind. The side of my face was swelling and my lip was split. Well, that figures, doesn't it? I never thought you were a great man. I thought you were crazy, but I didn't think you were such an absolute piece of shit. I spat out some blood as I stood up. Carl, I really don't fucking care what you think about me, he said, replacing his shotgun. I've carried the guilt for long enough. The faceless is here, and I'm going to kill that bitch or die trying. I figure either way I can finally be rid of the screaming. The screaming in my head was still there, calling my name, begging me to come back. They turned from fear to screams of absolute agony. It took some effort, but I managed to push the memories out of my head for the time being. You were never able to do it before. I've got some new things to try, Coot cut off abruptly. Something had moved behind Coot, and he noticed my eyes go wide. Coot was about to say something, but I signalled for him to stop and to look behind him. As he turned, I could see what I had hoped wouldn't be the case. There had been too many bodies that were infected though, and 10 yards away stood a faceless, up and walking around. There was no longer just one, but who knew how many others. Okay, I know you'll all be mad about this. I didn't want to do this. Cliffhangers are the worst. Sadly, I have to cut off there though. Believe me, I wanted to get through all of what happened on this day, but there was a lot. Also, it sounds like there's something going on outside. I think people are trying to break into the shed to get at the pliers. Either that or something else terrible is happening. Maybe both, who the hell knows. Everything is going to shit. I'll pick this up tomorrow. Don't forget, if you enjoyed that story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line or even give them a glowing review. I'm sure they really would appreciate it. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. Don't forget to check out the merch store. The link will be in the description and also in the video thumbnail. And if you'd like an honourable mention, send in a snapshot of yourself with your purchase and I'll feature it in one of the videos. Have you written a creepypasta story you would like me to narrate? Have you had any cryptid sightings, paranormal or supernatural encounters, or even had a creepy or terrifying situation you would like to share? Well, I now have my very own subreddit community where you can submit your stories. The link for that is also in the thumbnail as well as below in the description. You can submit your stories there, or you can send them to cryptidsroost@gmail.com. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. Now I also have a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit and Discord. And if you'd like to support the channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. Now I also have a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit and Discord. And if you would like to support the channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost, and any and all donations would be gratefully received. Again, that will also be below. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.